What's up, my friends? You are listening to the radio of Real English. I am your host, Kaizen of Tony. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you how to use the word bitch, just like an American. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're talking about a bad word here, a dirty word, a filthy word, a vulgar word, a not so good word, an ugly word. So you got to think twice before you use this word in professional settings or with people you don't know very well or at the quinceañera or the fucking uh, graduation ceremony. You don't want to go around calling people bitch. All casual like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta think twice before you use this one because this word is much stronger than words from previous episodes like hell or damn or ass. Those aren't the strongest words in our language, man, but bitch, that's a pretty strong word, even though we tend to use it quite casually depending on the situation, and you'll see that in just a few minutes. So you know how I do, my friend. We're not going to waste no time. Let's get right into this word, bitch, B-I-T-C-H, bitch. Now, the literal meaning of this word is actually female dog. That might sound strange to you, but the word bitch literally means or describes a female dog. Now, based on my research, it can also describe a female wolf, fox, or otter, which are obviously just other animals. But most people, when you ask them the literal meaning of bitch, it's female dog. So technically, you could say, my bitch just had some puppies. And puppies are baby dogs. So my bitch just had some puppies, but nobody in their right mind would say some shit like that. My bitch just had some puppies, unless they were trying to be funny. You know what I mean? But we would never describe seriously our female dogs as bitches. To say that's my dog. My dog just had some puppies. You know what I'm saying? But that is the literal meaning of the word, just so you know. But in a more natural sense, in more common situations, the word bitch is often used as an insult. We're referring to people. We call people bitches. So let's break this down. When we're talking to, or about, I should say, when we're talking about a woman, the term bitch is often used as a derogatory term for a rude, mean, or unpleasant woman. Now, it's worth noting that in Romance languages like Spanish or Portuguese, the word puta, P-U-T-A, is often translated to the word bitch. But in English, we use the word bitch in reference to a woman's attitude or demeanor and not her sexual behavior. So the word puta is actually whore, W-H-O-R-E, which is another word for prostitute. However, the word prostitute is used to refer specifically to a woman who has sex in exchange for money, whereas the word whore, or hoe for short, is often used to describe any woman who is very promiscuous or frequently maintains sexual relationships with multiple men at the same time. I hope I'm not losing or confusing you. But if you need to, just rewind that and hear it again. Like I said, puta is more like whore, a very promiscuous woman or a prostitute who has sex for money. Bitch, generally speaking, is talking about a woman's bad attitude, or she's very mean or rude, and it has nothing to do with how promiscuous she is, generally. So back to the word bitch, being used as an insult. Here are some examples. I could say something like, she's such a bitch. Man, she's such a bitch. And I'm saying she's such a mean, rude, just unpleasant woman. Do not like being around her. I don't like her attitudes. Just, she's such a bitch. She's so mean. Or I can't believe she said that. What a bitch. You know what I mean? Your friend's telling you about some really mean comment that his girlfriend made or something like that, commenting on, I don't know, his salary or his height or the size of his member or something like that, you know, trying to humiliate the guy. And you say, I can't believe she just said that. What a bitch, man. Jesus. What a bitch. Or I might say, she's acting like a real bitch today. Man, she's acting like a real bitch today. Nobody wants to talk to her today, man. She's acting like a bitch. just really mean and rude and just cold and fucking condescending. She's just what a bitch, you know? Or she can be a real bitch when things don't go her way. When she doesn't get what she wants, she can be a real bitch. She doesn't get what she wants, so she starts acting very passive aggressive and mean and rude. Like, you get the idea now. It's just a way of insulting a woman who has a very bad, rude, mean, disrespectful attitude. And you can also, like, that word is a noun in this case, but the word bitchy is an adjective, bitchy, bitchy. And again, it just describes somebody who's being unpleasant, passive aggressive, rude, somebody who's very irritable. So you can say she's acting really bitchy today. She's always so bitchy when she's tired. And so now we're using the same word just as an adjective. Or she gave me a really bitchy look. Like, the look on her face made me think she was very bitchy, you know? Just rude and mean and just unpleasant. Or that was a pretty bitchy thing to say, you know? That was a bitchy thing to say. It's similar to rude, but when we say bitchy, it's more like petty. You know what I mean? Almost as if you're being rude and mean, but in an immature way. It's kind of what it means to be bitchy. Or I apologize for being so bitchy. I'm just really tired and stressed right now. That's something you might hear somebody say. I'm sorry for being so bitchy. I'm just tired. I'm hungry. I'm stressed. I don't mean to be so bitchy. Now, the word bitch, when we use it towards a man or with a man or in reference to a man, it doesn't mean rude or mean or disrespectful. When you call a man a bitch, what you're suggesting is that he's weak or submissive or overly sensitive. You're really calling him a coward or all of those things. You know, I guess it depends on the context, but it's completely different from calling a woman a bitch. So if I'm talking to a man, I said, man, stop being a little bitch. Stop being a little bitch. And what I'm saying is stop being so weak. Stop being so sensitive. Stop being so afraid. Acting like a coward. Stop being a little bitch, man. Stop acting like a bitch. Right? I don't know if y'all heard that J. Cole song. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's something. Fire Squad. Fire Squad. I don't remember the name of the album. But in that song, he's like, something like, nigga, why you acting like a hoe? Knowing I'ma ride for you either way it go. And then it keeps going. He says somewhere in that hook, he's like, yo, my nigga, why you acting like a bitch? If you scared to take a chance, how the fuck we gonna get rich? So what he's saying there, why you acting like a bitch? And then he goes on to say, if you're scared to take a chance, blah, blah, blah. So those two sentences are connected. You're acting like a bitch. You're acting scared. You're acting cowardly. If you're afraid to take a chance or a risk, how do you expect to get rich? You can't get rich thinking like a bitch, like a coward, being all fearful and shit. That's the idea. Or I might say, he ran away from the fight like a bitch. He ran away from the fight like a bitch. He was in some conflict and this dude wanted to fight him and he ran away. And when we say run away from a fight, it could be literally or figuratively. You can literally run. You're so scared of this person or the conflict that you run from the location. Or a lot of times you'll also hear people say walk away from a fight, which is slightly different now that I'm thinking about it. Because to run away from a fight implies that you try to escape the situation out of fear. To walk away from the fight simply means that you refuse to fight. You're saying, nope, it's not worth it. I'm not going to fight you. And you literally and figuratively just walk away. And so you can kind of understand if you're walking, you're calm, it's casual. If you run, you're typically afraid. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, run away from a fight. It's like somebody wants to fight you and you're so scared that you won't fight. You run away. So you can say you ran away from the fight like a bitch. And I also say, dude, walking away or even running away from a fight does not make you a bitch, bro. Don't, you know what I'm saying? To all my young boys out there listening to this, you don't have nothing to prove to nobody. I'm not saying be a coward, but running away from a fight doesn't make you a coward. I think it depends on the situation. I think starting some shit, causing problems and acting like you're about to fight, acting like you're not afraid, and then when it comes time to fight, you run away, you's a bitch. But if somebody comes to you just looking for a problem and you know it's not worth it and you actually have shit to lose, there's nothing wrong with walking away from a fight. You know, shit can get real ugly real fast in a street fight. So, anyway, that's besides the point, isn't it? We're here talking about bitches. So, he ran away from the fight like a bitch. Or I might say, man up and stop acting like a bitch. When somebody tells you to man up, it's a phrasal verb, man up. They're saying stop acting like a little boy or a coward and act like a man. Be courageous, be brave, be bold. Grow a pair of fucking balls, you know what I'm saying? Man up. Stop acting like a bitch. Stop being a coward. What are you crying about? What are you crying about, man? Don't be such a bitch. Stop crying. Crying like a little bitch, man. Now, I know some of you might be listening and say, Jesus Christ, what toxic masculinity is this? I'm not here saying that crying makes you a bitch. I'm just giving you example sentences, man. Don't fucking, don't come at me, goddammit. Trying to teach you the language here. These are things we really say. You know? What the fuck you crying about, man? Stop being a bitch. Man up. A pair of fucking balls, man. I might say he folded under pressure like a bitch. And to fold under pressure basically means to give up, to quit, to basically say, I can't take this anymore. I gotta leave. I gotta quit. I need to stop. That's what it means to fold under pressure. So you can think about it figuratively, whether it's at work or dealing with family issues or playing sports. You're under all this pressure. You have all this responsibility. And if you fold, basically you're giving up because it's too much pressure. You know, think about an actual object folding under very heavy pressure, very strong pressure, a very heavy weight. It folds because it can't support all that weight. So, yeah, he folded under pressure like a bitch. So, yeah, just to recap, when you use it in reference to a woman, you're saying she's very rude, mean, horrible attitude, unpleasant, uncooperative, just, just a bitch. Or she can be bitchy if you use it as an adjective. When you use it in reference to a man, you're saying he's a coward, he's weak, he's submissive, he's overly sensitive, he's not manly. You see? So that's how we use that word as an insult. So let's move on to using the word bitch as an exclamation. When we use it this way, the word bitch can be playful, it can be casual, it sometimes can be used to express frustration or surprise, sometimes even annoyance. It really just depends on the context and the tone, right? The context of the situation and also the way you say it will determine what you really mean. And I will say that it's often used amongst friends. When it's casual or playful, it's definitely somebody that you know very well, that you have a very close relationship with. You don't just call anybody bitch, bro. You got to be careful, man. You need to have a lot of confidence to playfully call somebody bitch. If you're using it as an exclamation to express frustration or anger, either you know them very well and you know they're not going to get offended, or you don't care about offending this person. So let me just give you some examples to make it more clear. Example number 1, close friends. They know each other, they have that confidence, all that good stuff. Friend number 1 will say something like, hey, what time is it? What time is it? Friend number 2 says, it's 4:45. It's 4:45, which means 5:45. It's a quarter of an hour until 5 p.m. Quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So that's why we say it's 4:45. It means 15 minutes until 5 o'clock. And then friend number 1 says, bitch, just say 4:45. So maybe that's not clear to you. Let me say it again. Friend number 1 says, what time is it? Friend number two says, it's 4:45. Friend number one, bitch, just say 4:45. Why are you talking like that? 4:45, man. Just say 4:45. Trying to sound sophisticated or some shit, man. Bitch, just say 4:45. So in that case, I'm not like calling him a bitch. I'm not calling him a coward or rude or mean, or it's just an expression, just an exclamation. I'm expressing my annoyance with what he just said. Bitch, just say 4:45. Talking about 4:45. What the fuck? Just say 4:45. Am I making sense? I don't know if you guys say something like this in your language, but amongst close friends, typically male friends to guys, I would definitely say something like that. My friend's talking, it's 4:45. Bitch, say it's 4:45, man. What is wrong with you? You know? So here's another example. Two brothers. Again, they know each other. They have that confidence. They have that relationship. So it's not a problem. Brother number one says, oh man, I just ate the last slice of pizza. Actually, let me say it this way. Brother number one asks if there's any pizza left. It's like, hey, is there any pizza left? I'm hungry. Brother number two says, I just ate the last slice. I just ate the last slice of pizza. And brother number one says, bitch, you knew I wanted some pizza. Bitch, you knew I wanted some pizza. Again, not necessarily calling you a bitch. I'm expressing my frustration, my annoyance with the fact that you ate the last slice of pizza when you knew I wanted some pizza. You already had some pizza. I didn't get no pizza. And you ate the last slice knowing I wanted some. Bitch, you knew I wanted that. Bitch. As I'm explaining this to you, I'm realizing like how bizarre it is that we say that. But it's just an exclamation. We're just expressing emotion. That's all. So now let's take it to a situation where it's like two people who don't know each other. They're not being friendly. It is not casual or playful in any way. Imagine you're walking down the street behind an extremely slow person who's taking up all the space on the sidewalk. You try to move left and pass the person and they drag to the left. You try to go to the right and pass this person, they drag to the right, walking in a fucking zigzag pattern. You know those people? No self-awareness, walking around looking down at their phone or just looking up at random shit in the city, walking as slow as humanly possible, and there's no way for you to pass. In that situation, you might say, move, bitch. Move, bitch. So when you tell somebody to move, obviously you're saying move out of the way. Let me pass. You're in my way. You're obstructing my path. When you add bitch to it, it's just putting emphasis. And in that case, you're calling them a bitch, but not in the way I told you before, like insulting a man or a woman. It's just more generally like when I call you bitch in this case, I'm just expressing that I'm very frustrated with you. You're getting on my nerves. You're annoying me for some reason. Move, bitch. But as I said, that is very strong language. You're not just going to say that unless you are ready for conflict. You don't just go around calling people bitch because you're frustrated. You understand? It's a very strong thing to say. Now, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't care about that. You can say this if you want, bro. I'm not telling you what to say. I just want you to understand what you are saying. Because when I say move, bitch, it's like, yo, if I say that to a woman, she is almost certainly going to take offense. Almost certainly. It's a very rude thing to say. If I say it to a man, depending on the type of man I'm talking to, I might have a real problem on my hands. You understand? Like, who the fuck are you talking to? You call a bitch, you know what I'm saying? And boom, boom, boom. Now you got a problem. And all you wanted to do was pass this man on the street. You know? A more polite thing would be, excuse me, can I get by? Excuse me, thank you. That's what you say. But you having a bad day. You just lost your job. Just found out your girlfriend's cheating on you. You just trying to get to the house and you walking. Move, bitch. Fuck out the way, man. Got places to be. Move, bitch. It's a very strong thing to say, y'all. Please be careful. Another example. Let's imagine you and your brother are in a public place. And you and your brother are arguing about something. Doesn't matter what. You're arguing about something. and everyone around you in that public place can hear you guys arguing, you're starting to cause a scene. And a stranger comes up to you guys and says, yo, you guys really need to stop arguing. You shouldn't be arguing in public like this. Please stop causing a scene. You might say, mind your business, bitch. Hey, why don't you mind your business, bitch? And when you say that, you could just say, hey, mind your business. And it's still very direct and they understand exactly what you mean. When you add bitch to it, it's almost like a way of expressing your lack of respect for this person. Again, when you call them bitch in this context, it's because they're annoying you. They're frustrating you. You don't like them. You don't want them around you. Mind your business, bitch. That's another way of expressing the sentiment that is fuck you. You know what I mean? We haven't done the episode about fuck. That's coming next. But you've heard somebody say fuck you before. You got an idea, right? So, hey, why don't you mind your business, bitch? You are choosing to be aggressive when you say it that way. Because you could just say, hey, mind your business. And that's not necessarily aggressive, but it's very direct. When you add bitch to it, you are communicating your aggression. Why don't you mind your business, bitch? Stay out of this, bitch. Nobody's talking to you, bitch. You know what I mean? It's very... it's making me laugh just because of how aggressive it is. I just imagine one of y'all saying something like that. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, it's very strong language, y'all. But hopefully now you have some kind of understanding of what we mean to say or what we're trying to communicate when we use the word bitch as an exclamation. You know? I say, bitch, just say 4:45. I'm not mad, but I'm annoyed. It's like you could have just said 4:45, talking about 4:45, bro. Just say 4:45, bitch. You know? Or the second example, bitch, you knew I wanted that slice of pizza. I'm annoyed because you ate the pizza that I wanted. But in the third examples, I skipped one. All right, we're falling off the rails a little bit here. Let's get back on track. I skipped one. Let's go to example number 3, which is the two brothers again. Just to really drive home how we use this word and what it means. So, brother number 1, he says, he looks at brother number 2 and sees that he looks kind of sad or disappointed about something. So brother number 1 asks brother number 2, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And brother number 2 says, I won't be able to compete in the football tournament with my friends this weekend. Maybe he's grounded or he's physically injured or something. And he says, I won't be able to compete in the football tournament with my friends this weekend. Brother number 1 says, you would have lost anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right? Kind of being an asshole, being a dick, kind of like, you know, being a brother. He says, man, you would have lost anyway. It don't matter. Who cares? Even if you could compete, you would have lost, is what he's saying. And brother number 2 says, shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. You know? Again, he's calling him a bitch, but like, not in the same way I explained before, not in the insulting way, but calling you like you annoying person. That's basically what we're saying. You fucking twerp. You weasel. You goddamn whatever. Shut up, bitch. You know? So let me go through that again. Hey, what's wrong with you? Man, I'm not going to be able to compete in the football tournament with my friends this weekend. Man, you would have lost anyway. It don't matter. Shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. And again, I could just say, man, shut up. And that's totally normal, 100% natural. When I add that bitch, I'm emphasizing that you are annoying me. You little bitch, shut up. You fucking twerp. So in those 3 examples, it's an exclamation expressing our frustration. And the fourth one, I guess I should say, example 4, part 1 and 2, right? The slow person walking on the street. Move, bitch. I'm not being playful, casual, friendly. I am fucking mad. And I don't care how you feel about it. Move, bitch. That's very aggressive. Or mind your business, bitch. That is extremely aggressive speech. All right. All right, let's move on to the next section. Complaining. Now we go from a noun to a verb. When we use the word bitch to describe complaining or whining, it's a verb. And well, it's what I just said. If somebody is bitching, or to bitch, the verb, means to be constantly complaining or whining. Now, maybe you've never heard the word whine before. WHINE, whine. What that means, it's very similar to complaining, but I guess the literal definition describes the noise that a baby makes when they want something, but they don't have the words to express it. You know, just, that's whining. So imagine that figuratively, a grown-ass man or a grown-ass woman just complaining like a little baby. That's fucking whining. You know how annoying that shit is, bro. So that's whining, and then complaining is just expressing your discontent with whatever is happening or not happening. So complaining or whining, we can describe those as bitching. So this kind of goes back to the idea of being weak and overly sensitive. You're bitching all the time, but we use it for men or women in this case. So to bitch, right, to complain or whine constantly, I might say, he's always bitching about something. He's always bitching about something. He's always whining, always complaining about something, always bitching. All the time, just bitching about something. Or I might say, man, she's bitching about everything today. She's bitching about everything. She just woke up in that type of mood where everything is irritating her. She has to complain and whine about everything. She's bitching about everything today. Jesus. Or I might tell my friend, like, why are you always bitching about your job, man? If you don't like it, just quit. Every time I talk to you, you're bitching about your job. And notice that I'm using the word about after the word bitching. We bitch about things. Just like we complain about things. We complain about things, or we whine about things. Bitch is the same thing. I'm bitching about things. I don't know if y'all just heard my phone ringing just a second ago. If you did, forgive me for that. I gotta put that thing on silent. But anyway, let's keep going. Why are you always bitching about your job? If you hate it, just quit. Let me see some other examples here. Imagine you travel to a foreign country with a friend, and he's just constantly complaining about how expensive everything is. Oh, back in my country, we wouldn't have to pay this much for food. We wouldn't have to pay this much for a hotel. And back in my country, you can say, man, he won't stop bitching about how expensive everything is. He won't stop bitching about the prices. He won't stop bitching, man, just complaining and whining, you know, like a little bitch. Just a weak individual, sensitive, just blah, like a fucking toddler, just bitching all the time. And so you can also tell someone to stop bitching, which is essentially just say, stop complaining. I say, stop bitching, man, and do your job. Stop bitching. Always bitching. No, stop bitching, man. Stop complaining. Stop whining. I believe in England, or maybe the UK in general, they typically use the word moaning. MOANING, moaning. I say, stop moaning. Always moaning. I hear a lot of British football players using the word moaning. But in America, we typically say whining or complaining if you want to be, you know, PG-13, family friendly. But we would say bitching, not moaning. So anyway, you could say something like, I wish you stopped bitching and just enjoy the trip. Going back to the guy complaining about the prices of everything. Man, I wish you would stop bitching and just enjoy the trip, man. We're already here. If you don't like it, go home. I wish you'd stop bitching, bro. Can you stop bitching for 1 second and help me out here? You know? Like maybe you're trying to, I don't know, fix something in the house. And your girlfriend is just, she's standing there, but she's just complaining about how stuff is always breaking, or you're taking too long to fix things. And you said, can you stop bitching for just a second and please help me? That would be much more practical in a situation like this. Can you stop bitching for just a second? Now, if you say that to your girl, she is not going to take that very well, just so you know. But it does, you know, sounds very natural to say. Or let me see. You made the choice, so stop bitching about the consequences. That's a good one. You made the choice. It was your decision. So stop bitching about the consequences, man. Deal with the consequences because you made the decision. So the same way somebody can be bitching, you can tell them to stop bitching. And going back to the moan thing, I'm looking here at my notes and I realized that another thing that we say sometimes is bitch and moan. To bitch and moan is the same thing as saying to complain and whine. Because the words whine and moan are closely related, but they're not the same thing. Like whining is what I demonstrated earlier. I said, he got more candy than me. And yeah, it's like a baby just whining. Moaning for us in America, generally speaking, is the noise that somebody makes because of sexual pleasure. Similar to whining, but it's not because you're complaining about something or dissatisfied. It's because you enjoy the sexual pleasure that you're feeling. You moan in the bedroom. But I guess in the UK, moaning is much more like whining in the sense that you're complaining about something, like a toddler. But the expression or the phrase bitch and moan, even in America, describes whining and complaining. I really hope that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, go ahead, leave your questions. But anyway, what I'm saying is it's a fixed phrase that you can use. All they do is bitch and moan about their jobs. So the same way you can say all they do is bitch about their jobs, you can say all they do is bitch and moan. Same thing. Or you can bitch and moan all day, but it's not going to change anything. You can bitch and moan all day. It's not going to change anything. Or how about instead of bitching and moaning, why don't you try to find a solution? Instead of bitching and moaning, why don't you try to find a solution like an adult? See what I'm saying? So that's bitching when we mean to say complaining or whining or moaning. So next on the list, the word bitch describes if you call somebody a bitch, sometimes it indicates that they are excessively submissive or that they're being humiliated in some way. And when we use it this way, we're referring to like power dynamics. You know what I mean? To make someone your bitch, it basically means to make them submissive to you or to humiliate them in a way to demonstrate that you're superior and they're inferior. You know? Like if somebody says he made you his bitch, what you're saying is he dominated you, he humiliated you, he made you look like, well, I don't know how else to say it, like a bitch. Now, everybody sees you as inferior and submissive, and everybody looks at him as the dominant one, superior, in control. He made you his bitch. You know? You might hear, well, you're not going to hear this very often, but in certain genres of hip hop music, you've probably heard somebody say, that's my bitch. I got 4 bitches. That's my bitch. And they're referring to their woman. Basically implying, I own her, she's submissive to me, I control her, that's mine right there. Sounds pretty bad when you say it that way, but it's quite common to hear in a lot of hip hop songs. Well, certain genres of hip hop songs, but that's what they mean. That's my bitch, that's mine. Kind of like your female dog. You're the owner of that dog. That dog is submissive to you. It follows your orders and instructions. It's loyal to you. That's your bitch. It's probably why we say that, you know? Or another situation, like imagine this guy is dating this woman and she's just constantly trying to belittle him and degrade him and insult him and humiliate him. You might say, I don't know why he lets her talk to him like that. He's basically her bitch. He's basically her bitch, which means he's totally submissive to her and he constantly lets her humiliate him. He's always in the position of inferiority, humiliation, deference, submission. And she's in control. She's the one that has the power. She's superior. She has no respect for this guy. And he has no dignity because he's letting her treat him like this. He's basically her bitch. Am I making sense? Or I don't know, like imagine mm, maybe talking to your friends, like you guys are trying to finish some project, and one of your friends likes to think that he's the leader and he can tell everyone what to do, and he's in the position of superiority. He's the boss. Everybody has to listen to him, and he just won't stop trying to tell you what to do. You might say something like, "I'm not your bitch, so stop bossing me around." And to boss someone around basically is what I just said, like being excessively controlling, thinking you can tell them what to do all the time, micromanaging, thinking that they're your property and you control them. That's bossing somebody around. So stop bossing me around, dog. I'm not your bitch. I'm not your servant. I don't submit to you. You don't control me. You don't own me. I'm not your bitch. I'm nobody's bitch. You might hear that from time to time. I'm nobody's bitch. Which again is what I just said. I submit to no one. I'm not anybody's fucking property. Not going to humiliate me, or you know what I'm saying? So when we talk about power dynamics, that's what we mean when we use the word bitch. Trying to think. So I guess in those examples I just gave, we're using the word bitch as a noun, but you can use the word bitch as a verb to describe the same idea. Like I might say, don't let him bitch you like that. Don't let him bitch you. Now, this isn't the most common thing to say or hear, but if I say, don't let him bitch you, I'm saying, don't let him make you his bitch. Don't let him treat you like a bitch. Don't let him dominate you like that or humiliate you like that. So you can use it as a verb, even though it's not the most common thing. All right, let's move on to the next one. The word bitch can also describe a very tough or difficult task or situation. We're just trying to convey that whatever we're experiencing or doing is exceptionally unpleasant or difficult or frustrating. And we're just emphasizing how difficult or frustrating it actually is. So I could say something like, I could say something like, this exam is going to be a bitch. Man, this exam is going to be a bitch, man. I'm saying it's going to be extremely hard, extremely unpleasant. Running that marathon was a bitch. And that marathon was a bitch. Extremely unpleasant. So now you can think back to the insult when we're talking about a woman. Extremely unpleasant, difficult to deal with, just not fun, not a pleasure. The exact opposite, in fact. It was a bitch. You also hear the expression sometime, life's a bitch. Life is a bitch. And what we're saying is life can be extremely hard, extremely frustrating, extremely disappointing. You know, so imagine somebody is coming to you and bitching and moaning about something that disappointed them, whether it's at work or just life in general, and you think that they're bitching and moaning like a little kid and that they need to grow up. You might simply say, well, life's a bitch. I don't know. I mean, shit, life's a bitch, man. Life's a bitch. And what you're expressing when you say that is, I don't know what to tell you. It happens, man. That's just life. It's not always going to be rainbows and flowers and fucking pots of gold and, you know what I'm saying, Skittles and shit. It's not always going to be the most pleasurable experience. Sometimes you experience tough situations. Sometimes you're disappointed. Sometimes things don't work out for you. Life's a bitch. It is what it is. Or fixing this old car has been a real bitch, man. Trying to fix this car is it's been a real bitch. It has been a real bitch. Extremely difficult, frustrating, annoying. Learning this new language is a bitch, but I'm making progress. You can actually say that. Somebody's asking you, how's it? You're learning English, right? How's it going? Man, learning this language, it's a real bitch, but I'm making progress day by day. It's a bitch, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. You're just saying it's unpleasant. It's difficult. Now, where I'm from, you might actually hear somebody say it's a bitch and a half, meaning 1.5, 1.5. It's a bitch and a half. And it's just our way of colorfully putting emphasis on the word, putting emphasis on what we're saying. Say, man, that thing's a bitch and a half, dog. Same exact thing, same exact meaning, just with added emphasis, just so you know. So fixing this car, man, dealing with that girl, or starting this business, it's a bitch and a half, bro. Man, that shit is a bitch and a half. It's very, very difficult, very unpleasant, very annoying, very frustrating. Trying to get a refund from this company is a bitch. Or was, I should say. Trying to get a refund from that company was a bitch, man. They made it so complicated. Moving all my stuff, right? Have you ever moved from one house to another? Moving all your stuff across the city is a real bitch, man. Yeah, pack everything up, decide what you're going to keep, decide what you're going to donate, decide what you're going to throw away, call the moving company, hope they don't break any of your shit, get it all on the truck, drive across the city, take it off the truck, unpack the shit. That, you know what I'm saying? It's a bitch, dog. It's a bitch. I'm sure you get the idea by now. I got tons of examples I could give you, but again, if something is a bitch, it can mean that it's just very tough, annoying, frustrating, difficult, unpleasant. Talking about a task or a situation, not a person, but this activity, this thing I have to do, this situation itself is a real bitch. All right, now let's move on to some common expressions. One that I'm sure you've heard if you've been learning English for over a year, over 2 years, you've almost certainly heard the expression, son of a bitch. Hijo de puta, filho da puta. How they say that in French? Fils de pute or something like that? I don't know. Son of a bitch. I'm sure you've heard that before. And it's just like in every other language, an insult directed at somebody who is, man, a number of things. Annoying, unpleasant, deceitful, rude, arrogant. You're just expressing your anger and frustration towards this person. You'll also hear people sometimes, not these days, but sometimes, especially in movies or something, you might hear somebody say son of a whore. Because again, in the past, I believe the word bitch could also describe a whore, a prostitute. So you insult them by basically calling them the son of a prostitute, son of a whore, son of a bitch. Or you're basically just saying your mom's a bitch. Your mom's a bitch for having you. You were raised by a fucking bitch, you piece of shit. It's just, it's an insult. You get the point. You get the idea. So I would say if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, or any language that uses this expression, son of a bitch, it's translated exactly the same way, and you can use it practically in the exact same way. That son of a bitch cut me off in traffic. I can't believe that son of a bitch stole my idea. This son of a bitch never shows up on time. This son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. He's a real son of a bitch. Shut up, you son of a bitch. Same exact thing. There are times when you can translate word for word. When it comes to learning languages, this is one of those times. All right? And I'll also say you don't have to just call somebody a son of a bitch. You can also just use it like as an exclamation. The same way I might say, God damn it. If you remember from the last episode, damn it. When you're frustrated or disappointed, if I drop my phone on the floor, I say, son of a bitch. So you can also use it in those situations where you're extremely disappointed or frustrated and you just say that phrase and nothing else. You get a text message or an email and they say, your flight to Japan has been canceled. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. God damn it. And both phrases are just being used to express your anger or your frustration. Now let's move on to some other types of bitches. When I was preparing this, I only wrote the ones that came to mind. But before I give you these, I'll say you can honestly put any adjective before the word bitch, and it's probably going to make sense. Not any adjective. Let me not tell you the wrong thing. Let me give you the ones I wrote down, and then I'll come back to that idea. So, ones that you will actually hear in real life, especially in modern pop culture, is bad bitch. B-A-D, bad bitch. Now, depending on who you ask, this word theoretically is a positive word, or not a word, a positive term used to describe a confident, independent, and attractive woman. Like you might hear it in a hip hop song. She a bad bitch. She's a bad bitch. And what theoretically they mean is she's extremely attractive. She's confident. I really want to be with her. That's a girl you really want to be with. That's a bad bitch. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think how to explain this to you. To Depending on who you ask, it's supposed to be taken in a positive way, but you're still calling the woman a bitch. So it's disrespectful to refer to a woman as bitch, no matter what the context is. You say that's a bad bitch because you could say that's a beautiful woman. That's a sexy woman. She's fine as hell. But you choose to say bad bitch. You're calling her a bitch. You know what I'm saying? So it's meant to be taken positively, but it's a disrespectful thing to say. You see the confusion here? So it really depends on who you ask. Because if a guy says it and says, "Yeah, man, that's a bad bitch," he's not trying to say anything negative. If you know what he really means, you know he's not trying to say something negative. He's saying something positive. But there are a lot of women who would take offense to being called a bad bitch because you calling her a bitch. You know what I'm saying? So she's not going to like that. Now, ironically, like I said, in modern pop culture, you'll hear a lot, especially like female rappers, Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, who else? I mean, women like that refer to themselves as bad bitches, which causes a lot of young women these days to refer to themselves as bad bitches, trying to communicate that they're confident, I'm independent, I don't need a man, I'm attractive, blah, 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 blah. And they're disrespecting themselves. I don't really understand why a woman would ever refer to herself as a bitch, but I can understand because black people we refer to ourselves as nigga all the time. It's like, why would we be calling ourselves that? It doesn't make logical sense. That's what I want you to understand. And that's why I said it depends on who you ask. Is that a positive thing to say? Is that a negative thing to say? Is that offensive or is that like flattering? It really just depends on who you ask. But now you should have an idea of what people mean when they use that term, bad bitch. So yeah, I mean, as far as example sentences, I don't even know, man. You might hear a woman say, "I'm a bad bitch," confident, independent, attractive, successful, blah blah blah. Or a man might say, "She's a bad bitch." Those are the two most common. She is a bad bitch, or I am a bad bitch. You know, those are the two most common. I guess you could create like some scenarios like, "Oh, she walked into the room and owned it. She's such a bad bitch. She's so confident. She's so secure. She's so beautiful. So blah, blah, blah," you know? But it's not the most common thing to say. And to be honest, it's hard for me to even give you natural examples because I don't really use that term. I think like if I had a woman that's sitting here I could talk to, she could probably tell you much more natural things that a woman would say. Because guys, outside of like a hip hop song or certain social circles, I don't really hear guys using this term very often. In my experience, you'll hear very young women refer to themselves this way much more often. So, yeah, I don't know. Do your own research because I don't recommend you say this. I really don't. But you do what you do. We're going to move right along. The next one, basic bitch. BASIC, basic bitch. This is a derogatory term referring to the type of girl who is perceived as boring, extremely unoriginal, and is essentially just a carbon copy of every other woman out there who's pretending to be every other woman out there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like implicit with the name, a basic bitch. It's a very basic woman. There's nothing interesting or original about her. She lacks individuality. That's what we're saying. Zero individuality or creativity. She has no original thoughts. She doesn't have any original sense of fashion. She doesn't have her own life philosophy. She doesn't think for herself. She just scrolls on Instagram and TikTok all day and tries to imitate what she sees other girls doing. And all the girls on TikTok and Instagram are just imitating what other girls are doing. They're all basic bitches. How you feel about that term is up to you. I'm just telling you what it means, dog. So again, I'm describing that type of girl, like always posting the same selfies and wearing the same clothes as every other girl, the same makeup, trying to act and look like Kim Kardashian or some fucking influencer. They all have the same laugh. They all have the same manner of speaking, the same cadence, the same intonation, the same expressions. Like If you closed your eyes and listened to all five of them, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. They're all the same. They just act and talk like each other. They're just copying each other. You know? That's a basic bitch. Just a woman with no originality and just, well, you get the point. I'm being repetitive. She's just trying to conform to what she thinks an acceptably attractive or interesting woman is, but she's getting that idea from other boring, unoriginal, uninteresting women. She has no sense of self and therefore just copies all the other girls. So she's just like all the other girls. There's nothing special about her in terms of appearance, character, and personality. So there you go. That's what we mean when we say basic bitch. Crazy bitch. This one is self-explanatory, isn't it? You're saying she's a bitch and she's fucking crazy. Gotta watch out for her, dog. That's a crazy bitch. You know? Type of girl to put sugar in your gas tank, light all your clothes on fire, slash your car tires, sneak in through your back window, stalk you and shit. It's a crazy bitch. She's erratic. She's irrational, out of control. You know what I'm saying? Crazy bitch. Unpredictable, extreme. You know what I mean? That's a crazy bitch. Yeah. Next, cold-hearted bitch. COLD hyphen HEARTED. Cold-hearted. Cold-hearted bitch is a derogatory term used to describe a woman who is emotionally detached. She doesn't care about anything. She doesn't care about anyone. She has no feelings. Her heart is cold. You get the idea. That one's pretty easy to understand, I would imagine. It's a woman with a very cold heart. A bitch with a very cold heart. Not just a woman. A bitch. And if you go back to the beginning, you know what we mean when we call a woman bitch. So, it's a bitch with a very cold heart. Gotta be careful with those, you know? She will break your heart and not think twice about it. She will fuck your best friend in your bed and won't feel anything. She doesn't care. You know what I mean? Cold-hearted bitch, bro. Gotta be careful. No empathy, no compassion. Just dead inside. You know what I mean? And anybody can be cold-hearted, but this is a term we actually use. Crazy bitch, cold-hearted bitch, basic bitch, bad bitch, son of a bitch. These are things that people actually say, which is why I'm teaching them to you. So, anyway, moving right along. The next one, which you won't hear all the time, but it is something that you hear with the younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, and that is resting bitch face. This is not something that you call somebody. This is something that one possesses or has. It's a facial expression, let's say. When somebody has a resting bitch face, what we're saying is that their natural facial expression makes them look unfriendly, unapproachable, angry, mean, unpleasant. Even though they don't actually feel those things, they're not actually mean or unpleasant. Their neutral, resting facial expression makes them look that way. And typically we use this with women. I've never really heard a resting bitch face for a man, although I guess technically it makes sense. But usually it's used in reference to a woman who just has that face that when you look at her, you feel like it's communicating, do not approach. Stay the fuck away from me. Mean woman. Rude woman. Aggressive woman. Even though she could be the nicest woman on the planet, but her face makes you think otherwise. She has what we call a resting bitch face. When she's just chilling, resting, her face makes her look like she might be a bitch. That's resting bitch face. So you may think she's angry, you may think she's mean and unapproachable, but she's not. She just looks that way. And there's nothing she can really do about it because that's just her face. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. So yeah, you might hear that from time to time. RBF, resting bitch face. Like a girl might say, guys never approach me because I have a resting bitch face. So they're all intimidated. They think I don't want to talk to them. I have a resting bitch face. That's something you might hear a girl say. All right, moving on. The next expression, bitch move. Bitch move. And I'm not talking about move, bitch, like earlier in the episode. I'm saying it's a noun. A bitch move. 2 words. Bitch and then MOVE, move. A bitch move is essentially bitch behavior. We're talking about an action being taken because sometimes the word move can describe an action being taken. So that's the right move, that's the wrong move, that's a bitch move. That's the right action, the wrong action, that's a bitch action. And so, again, in this case, when we say bitch, we're talking about cowardly behavior, overly sensitive, very weak, something like that. A bitch move. It's a move that's cowardly, unfair, or disloyal. Something that is unworthy of respect. Something that is very low morally. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Imagine you and your friend decide to rob a bank together. Armed robbery, a felony. You're going to prison if you get caught. You guys rob the bank and you're in the getaway car trying to get back to safety, and the cops find you. They arrest you. They take you to jail. Now, as you're talking to the detectives, they tell you specifically, all right, we know it was one of your guys' idea. One of you was the leader here. We just want the leader. We don't want the follower. So if you testify against your friend, if you tell us that it was your friend's idea, he was the leader here, he went in there first, he was the orchestrator of this whole thing, we will let you go. You will not go to prison. Only your friend will go to prison. And then you tell the police, yep, it was his idea. He forced me to do it. Blah, 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 blah. You essentially snitch on your friend. You tell the police that your friend did something wrong. He broke the law. That's what it means to snitch, basically. So you snitch on your friend. And now you're back in your neighborhood and everybody found out, or everybody finds out what you did. And somebody says, hey man, snitching on your friend just to avoid prison was a real bitch move. That was a real bitch move. That was a cowardly, very low, disloyal thing to do. That's something a bitch would do, a coward, somebody with no character or integrity. That's a bitch move, you know? Or I don't know, like you're dating this girl, y'all are having sex and everything, and you accidentally get her pregnant. She comes to you and tells you that she's pregnant, and you disappear. You move to another fucking city, start a new life. That's a bitch move. That's a bitch move. That's something a coward would do, you know? Or at least that's when you would use that term, you know what I'm saying? That's a real bitch move. You got her pregnant, you just left her to deal with the baby on her own. That's a bitch move, dog. I now have less respect for you knowing that's what you did. I look at you like a bitch, a weak, cowardly man. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe you're at work and one of your coworkers is spreading rumors about you to slowly damage your reputation and improve their reputation so that they can get a promotion. They can get promoted to manager or supervisor, whatever the fuck. That's a bitch move. To go around spreading rumors like a high school, like a fucking 12-year-old girl to damage somebody's reputation so that you can get a promotion, that's a bitch move. If you were actually good at what you do, your work and your character would be enough for you to get the promotion, but you know it's not. So you start trying to damage somebody else's reputation just so that you look better. That's a bitch move. It's a cowardly, weak thing to do. You see what I'm saying? That's what we mean when we say bitch move. All right, next on the list, to do something like a bitch. Now, I gave you an example of this earlier, like he ran away from the fight like a bitch. So essentially what we're saying, when you do something like a bitch, is what we're saying you're doing something in a cowardly or fearful way. You're doing something that a coward would do, you know? Let me think, because the fight, I guess, is the most common one. He ran away from the fight like a bitch. Or he started crying like a bitch. Let me think. He gave up on the challenge. He gave up on the project like a bitch. We're just saying like a coward, like a weak individual. He's not manly. He's not strong. He's not masculine. He's weak, you know? So I guess that was pretty straightforward. I mean, you get it. He does something like a bitch, and what you're expressing is whatever he did was cowardly. He ran like a bitch. He started crying like a bitch, folded like a bitch, gave up like a bitch, like a coward, a weak individual. All right. What's on next on the list here? Bitch, please. This one you're definitely not gonna hear every day. Bitch, please. Bitch, please. But what we mean when we say that is what we're expressing, I should say, is that we don't believe whatever was just said, or that we don't really like whatever was just said. It's a dismissive way of saying we don't believe or like whatever was just said. Jesus, that was repetitive. Let me give you some examples. Let me look here. Bitch, please. You really think he's gonna use that? Let's imagine two girls, two friends are talking to each other about their dating life. And girl number one has been dealing with this very inconsistent guy. Sometimes he's there for her, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he answers the phone, sometimes he doesn't. She can't really tell if this guy likes her or not, which probably means he doesn't, right? But she doesn't want to accept that. She believes in her heart, no, he's just shy. He needs time. No, we're deeply in love. He's only dating me. He's committed to me. Friend number two would say something, bitch, please. That man is cheating on you. He don't love you. Bitch, please. That is not true. That is nonsense. So when we say bitch, in this case, when she says bitch, please, again, she's not like calling her friend a bitch. It's more like an exclamation. You know what I'm saying? Bitch, please. And when she says please, it's like, I'm begging you, be serious. Stop talking nonsense. Please, be serious. Stop joking. Stop talking nonsense. Stop being so delusional. Please come back to reality. Please be serious. Like, stop joking. You know that's bullshit. You know that is not true. Bitch, please. You see what I'm saying? Let me think of another one. The thing is not so common to hear. So I'm trying to think. I wrote some examples here, but they're not the best. Or maybe like talking at work. This one employee that always shows up late, and your friend says something like, "Oh, I think he's definitely gonna show up on time today because we're having pizza. For that reason, he's gonna show up on time." You might say, "Bitch, please. There's nothing that would make him come to work on time." And you're dismissively expressing that you don't believe that pizza is enough motivation or incentive to get him to come to work on time. He never comes to work on time for any reason. Pizza is not going to be the deciding factor here. That is not going to be the reason he finally shows up to work on time. Bitch, please. You know that is not happening. So this one, again, is not so common, and I really can't think of a situation when you would ever need to say this. So I just want you to be aware of what it means when you hear it. So let's move right along. The next one on the list is bitch fit. Bitch fit. So the word bitch and then F-I-T, fit. Now the word fit actually has various meanings now that I think about it. But in this case, we're referring to the expression to throw a fit or to have a fit, which is essentially a temper tantrum. You lose your composure and because you're mad or frustrated or excessively anxious. You know, like a little kid, like a toddler, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old or something. They've been playing with the iPad for fucking 4 hours. And then you say, okay, it's time to go read or time to go outside or time to eat. And you take the iPad from the baby and the baby just loses its shit, starts crying and screaming and banging on the floor and rolling around and all that shit, just causing a scene. In that case, the baby is throwing a fit or having a fit. Why we say that, I don't know. It doesn't make any literal sense, but that's how we describe that, or that's one of the ways we describe that. So in this case, when we say bitch fit, we're using it, it's the same idea, but talking about an adult, saying that this adult is throwing a tantrum, throwing a fit, having a fit, reacting with excessive anger and frustration and emotion the same way a toddler would. And it's specific, well, more specifically in cases where all that anger and frustration is unjustified. Like when you take the iPad from a baby, there is no reason to start rolling around on the floor and crying and screaming and banging on things. There's no reason. You're going to get the iPad back after you eat. Chill the fuck out. So think about an adult who starts throwing a fit for something so small or insignificant, or just like the level of anger and frustration they display is not justified. In that case, they'd be having or throwing a bitch fit, acting like a little bitch, a weak, overly sensitive, immature individual. So you can say he had a bitch fit, which is past tense, or he threw a bitch fit, also past tense. Present tense is have a bitch fit or throw a bitch fit, right? She threw a bitch fit when she found out that she wasn't going to get promoted. She threw a bitch fit. You'll also hear people say she threw a fit. Exact same thing, but bitch fit is kind of emphasizing the idea that you think she's acting like a little bitch, like a fucking little immature, weak, overly sensitive kid. She threw a bitch fit, you know, or he threw a bitch fit when they got his order wrong. You know, those type of people that go to a fast food restaurant or something like that, and they ask for no pickles on their burger. They get home, they open the burger, and they just fucking lose it. Start screaming, God damn it, these fucking people asked for no fucking pickles on the burger. And I gotta call a fucking manager and blah, blah, I want some free food. Nah. That man is having a bitch fit because they put pickles on his burger when he asked them not to. Just overreacting to something so insignificant like a bitch. Hopefully, after all this bitch talk, you're starting to get a real sense of what the word bitch means and how we use it. But that's bitch fit, all right? Similar to bitch session. A bitch session describes like when a group of people sit around and just bitch and moan about everything. You know what I mean? Type of people that like 4 or 5, 6, 7 people just sitting in a circle, just bitching, moaning, complaining, and whining as if it's a therapy session or something, except nobody's trying to solve any problems. They're just complaining. And they're like making each other feel good because they're all complaining with each other. You know what I mean? That's how they validate their bitch behavior, by sitting there and complaining with other little bitches. That's a bitch session. You know? They're over there having a little bitch session. I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying? Just over there bitching and moaning like little, you get the point. You get the point. So that's bitch session, bitch fit, right? You might also hear from time to time bitch slap. S-L-A-P, slap, like to hit somebody with your open hand, with the palm of your hand. And it's the same thing as slapping somebody, but to bitch slap describes slapping them in a very humiliating way. I mean, really, really, really hard. It's really loud and probably in front of a lot of people in a public place. To bitch slap someone is not just to slap them, but you're trying to humiliate them, embarrass them. Similar to the way a pimp, P-I-M-P, might slap one of his hoes, slap his bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. I was about to try to give you some idea of where it comes from, but yeah, I'm going to skip over that. Bitch slap, might not hear it every day, probably will never hear it, but it's just like, imagine you're out in public at a restaurant and this couple is arguing, yelling at each other, and the man just, bah, right across the face. He bitch slapped the woman. I mean, slapped her really, really hard in an effort to humiliate her and assert his dominance. That's what we mean when we say bitch slap. And it doesn't have to be man to woman. It could be man to man, woman to woman, doesn't matter. But that's what we mean. So hopefully you took some value from that. Because again, you may never hear it, but now you know what it means. So those are the most common expressions that involve the word bitch. There's 2 more things I want to teach you. The first one is the expression, ain't this about a bitch? Ain't this about a bitch? Man, ain't that about a bitch, man? And this is something that you really only hear in Ebonics. And in case you haven't heard me use that word before, Ebonics is also known as Black English, maybe also known as African American Vernacular English, AAVE. And it's a dialect of American English. That's all you need to know. Spoken mainly by Black Americans, definitely not all Black Americans, and not just Black people. It's just generally speaking, that's where it's where the dialect comes from, Black Americans. So anyway, in our dialect of English, you might hear somebody say, "Ain't this about a bitch?" And it's just a way of expressing frustration, disbelief, or annoyance. It doesn't make any literal sense. But it's almost like saying, man, can you believe this? Can you believe this shit? You know, it's like you're so frustrated by the situation and you almost can't believe that it's happening. It's basically what we mean. So let me look at my examples here. Okay, so I might say, or you're driving to work. Better example. You're driving to work and your car breaks down. In the middle of the road, the engine stops working or something in the car stops working. It breaks down. When that happens, you might say, "Ain't this about a bitch? Ain't this about a bitch?" Let me say it just a little bit slower. Ain't this about a bitch? 5 words. Ain't this about a bitch? Again, it doesn't make any literal sense. I don't know why we say that or where it comes from. But that is something that we actually say quite often. And the word ain't, just in case you don't know, AIN''T. In this case, it's a question word, but you can think about it like isn't. I guess in standard English, in this case, we would say, "Isn't this about a bitch?" Isn't this about a bitch? But we would never say that. We would say ain't. Ain't this about a bitch? Ain't that about a bitch? So in the case where your car breaks down, you're just expressing that you can't believe this inconvenience is happening to you. I can't believe my car broke down on the way to work. Can't believe this shit. Damn it. Ain't this about a bitch? Just expressing your frustration and disbelief of the situation, you know? Or again, back to the canceled flight example. You get an email on your way to the airport. You get an email saying, "We canceled your flight." Man, ain't this about a bitch? Ain't that about a bitch, man? And you can say, "Ain't this about a bitch?" or "Ain't that about a bitch?" Just depends on if you're talking about this or that. Doesn't matter, you know? Or you're running late for work and you run out of the house realizing that you can't, you want to leave for work. You're running late and you realize you can't find your keys. Ain't this about a bitch? 30 minutes late for work and I can't find my keys. Ain't this about a bitch? I'm sure you get the idea. You just can't believe this is happening right now and you're so frustrated. That's typically when we use that expression. Ain't this about a bitch? You know? And you probably never, I'm not going to say you should say it or not say it. That's up to you. But just know it's Ebonics. That is not standard English. Not everybody says that. And I don't even know for sure if everyone understands it. You'd have to ask people from a different cultural background or a different country if they've heard and understood what that means. So, but now you know and understand what it means. So the last one also comes from Ebonics, and the expression is "in this bitch." For example, "It's hot in this bitch." Like, man, it's hot in this bitch. Or I might say, "There are way too many people in this bitch." And when we use the word bitch in a sentence like that, it's a very, very, very informal way, arguably a vulgar way of referring to a place or a situation, like a room or a building or something. It doesn't make any literal sense. I don't know why we say this, but we do say it sometimes, especially younger people, not older people. And it just kind of adds emphasis to whatever we're saying. So I might say, "Man, it's freezing in this bitch." And when I say "in this bitch," I'm saying in this place, in this car, in this room, in this building. In this bitch, you can translate to "in this place," whatever place it is, wherever you are. But that's how you can translate it. I might say, "Man, we've been waiting in this bitch for an hour. I'm ready to go. We've been in this bitch for an hour." Just in this place, in this building, wherever we are. Or Let me look at some other examples here. This place falling apart, leaking in this bitch. Some of these are kind of funny. This place is falling apart. The ceiling's leaking in this bitch. The ceiling's leaking in this bitch. So this place is falling apart. It's deteriorating. Things are breaking all over the place. The ceiling is leaking, meaning there's water dripping from the ceiling. When I say in this bitch, again, it's just in this place. But it's just like you can think of it as slang. And it's just a way of putting emphasis on what we're talking about. It doesn't add any literal meaning. You're not communicating frustration or anything like that. Because you could be feeling neutral. You know, like there's that, I think it's the B.O.B. song where they're like, they're talking about being in the club at a party or something. It's like, buy another round, da-na-na-na-na. They tried to shut it down about an hour ago, but we still in this bitch. I don't remember the name of the song. I'm sorry. It's probably in this bitch. It's probably the name of the song. But what he's saying is they tried to shut the party down. They tried to stop or end the party in this club an hour ago, but we still in this bitch. He's not mad when he's saying that. He means we're still in this place. That's all he means. And that's really all I can tell you. Like in terms of emotion or anything like that, I can't really explain it because it's not like I'm mad, happy, sad, excited. Just another way of saying in this place. It's a very informal, slightly vulgar way of saying this place. That's all it means. So there you go. I don't recommend you speak that way because, again, it's like there's no reason to say that in this bitch. And it's hot in this bitch. Open a window in this bitch, man. I've been in this bitch for 10 hours, bro. I'm ready to get out this bitch. This means this place. So you do what you want with that information, man. I'm just trying to help you understand real American English, dog. You know that's my only mission. But there you have it, my friends. There's a rough guide on the meaning of the word bitch and how we use it in American English. As I've said many times before, try your best to get a real feeling and understanding of what the words mean before you start using them casually in any context. I recommend you practice with friends, maybe a teacher first, until you really dominate or not dominate, until you really have a good grasp of what the words mean. And then use them in any way you please, my friend. That's what I say. And if you got any questions, any doubts or anything like that, as always, leave them in the comments. Shoot me a DM or an email or something, and I'll get back to you when I get a chance. All right, my friend. But that's it for this episode of Real English Radio. I am your host, Tony Kaizen, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.